Hey everyone, today we have a comparison review between the 15-inch Surface Book 2 and the 15.4-inch MacBook Pro. First of all, special thanks to Microsoft Singapore for providing me with this unit for review purposes. And this MacBook Pro here, this is my own. I bought it in 2017. This is actually the 2015 model, so this is quite an old model. Anyway, for my review today, it will be from the perspective of a content creator, somebody who uses computers specifically for graphic design, who edits photos and videos on a daily basis. So today I'm going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each system, let you see how well they fare against each other. Now this video review is going to be a bit long, so if you want to save some time, you can actually check out my text review. I have a link in the video description just right below. You can click on that to check out the text review. The content in the text review and this video review is exactly the same. Before I start, I have to say that this is not going to be a fair comparison because the specifications of each system is different. This is the new product from Microsoft. This is a 2015 product from Apple. This is running Mac OS. This is running Windows. There are a lot of variations, so it's impossible for me to give you a one-to-one comparison. However, for my review, I'm going to be using the same apps. I'll be using the same graphic apps, video editing apps. I will not be running benchmarks because I do not run benchmarks for a living. I do actual work. So I'm going to tell you how much time it takes to export photos and videos, what happens when you open up a graphic file, what happens when you do adjustments to those files, whether or not the system can keep up with those adjustments. Just so you know, at home I use Mac OS and in the office I use Windows. I just use whatever that is right in front of me. Anyway, when you are using the graphic apps, they are going to look and perform quite similarly on both systems. Build quality for both products is excellent. They are among the best in terms of build quality compared to other laptops in the market. This is the 2015 model. It's quite slim. Compared to the 2016 and 17 models, this is a bit thicker, but I bought the older model because I wanted the ports here. This is aluminum, brushed aluminum. It feels really good, really solid. The Surface Book 2, by comparison, is a bit chunkier because of the keyboard, the hinge, and the screen. This screen is actually a tablet, so it's thicker compared to the MacBook Pro. So overall, it is much chunkier. Also, when you close the screen on the Surface Book 2, there's this gap here because of the hinge, so it makes it thicker compared to the MacBook Pro. The metal that is used to make the body of the Surface Book 2 is some magnesium alloy. It has a more textured surface compared to the aluminum. There are some scratches on this particular review unit. Here's a closer look at the texture on the Surface Book 2. Now scratches, well, I have scratches on my MacBook Pro as well, so it really depends on how well you look after your laptops. In terms of physical dimensions, the Surface Book has a smaller width compared to the MacBook Pro, and that's because of the aspect ratio of the screen. The MacBook Pro has a wider aspect ratio, so when I put the Surface Book 2 on top of the MacBook Pro and flush it to the right side here, you can see that it's a bit wider. Now for the weight, the Surface Book 2 is 1.9 kg. The 2015 MacBook Pro, this is 2 kg, and the 2017 model is 1.8 kg. Now let's take a look at the ports on the side. On the Surface Book 2, we have two full-size USB 3 ports, SD card reader. On the MacBook Pro, we have Thunderbolt 2, and this is a full-size USB 3 audio jack. And this is the MagSafe power port. On the 2017 model of the MacBook Pro, they have replaced all these ports with two USB Type-C on the side here. On the right side, on the Surface Book 2, we have one USB Type-C. This is only Thunderbolt 2. This is the power charging port. This is also magnetic. On the MacBook Pro, we have one full-size USB 3, HDMI, SD card reader. On the newer 2017 models, all these have been replaced with 2 USB Type-C ports. I'm someone who uses a camera every single day, so having a built-in SD card reader like this is incredibly convenient and essential to my workflow. I also use a lot of devices that still uses the full-size USB 3 port, like this thumb drive here, my external hard drive, my color calibrator, phone cable, monitor connection cables. They all use this port, so having this port still around in any product to me, again, essential. The lack of any USB Type-C ports is not a big deal to me because I'm still using the old ports, and these are the ports that get my work done, and that is all that matters to me. The main selling point of the Surface Book 2 really is the ability to detach the screen. You can press one button here like this, wait for it to tell you that it's safe to pull off the screen. You can pull it off very easily. This bottom edge here, there is some magnets that connect to the screen, and when you put it back again, it will lock it. So you need to press the button to release it. So now you have a very large tablet that you can write and draw on. And if you want to, you can actually just turn the tablet around like this and fix it back onto the keyboard area and close it back down. So now you have a slight inclined tablet to write and draw on. Now the ability to use this device, the Surface Book 2, as a tablet, this is something that you cannot do with the MacBook Pro, and this really is the selling point of the Surface Book 2. Since this is a tablet, this is of course a touch screen, and this particular screen, it supports the Microsoft Surface Pen, which by the way is not included with the Surface Book 2. This costs US $99. It's quite expensive, but thankfully there are Surface Pen alternatives that are selling for less than half the price and are also compatible with the screen. Now with the Surface Pen, a lot of workflows opens up. Being able to draw directly on the screen can save a lot of time. For example, if you are a comic artist or an illustrator, you can do page layouts. You can draft your panels directly into the system, and later on when you want to ink your drawings, you can then import your draft into another software, let's say Photoshop for drawing, for inking, or you can just do your draft directly into Photoshop itself. Because this is running on Windows, you can use desktop software and you can draw directly onto the screen. Saves a lot of time. Or let's say you are a page layout designer, you are working with other colleagues, you can design your pages, do a lot of drafts, and send those drafts straight away to your colleagues. And if there are any changes, if your colleague want any changes, you can do up the changes again very quickly and send them straight back. The Surface Pen is very accurate, and there is pressure sensitivity, so you can press down hard to get a really thick line or use little pressure to get a thin line. And because this is a touch screen, it supports finger gestures as well. You can rotate, you can zoom in and out. The responsiveness of the app really depends on the app that you are using. I'm using Medibank Paint Pro right now, which has a bit of lag, but with other software like Sketchable, Photoshop, the response is pretty instantaneous. There is also palm rejection, which works flawlessly, so you can rest your hand while drawing or while writing. So if you need to write and draw for long periods of time, the Surface Book 2 is definitely the more appropriate choice. Now let's talk more about the screen. For color accuracy, I color calibrated the screen with a Spyder 5 Pro and managed to get a readout of 94% sRGB support. On the MacBook Pro, this is around 95%, so both screens are quite color accurate, although for the type of work that I do, I require more than that. So I always connect my laptop to an external monitor which supports 100% Adobe RGB, And for the Surface Book 2, which no longer has the mini display port, now uses the USB Type-C, I need to get the USB Type-C to mini display port adapter. For the MacBook Pro, at least with the 2015 models, it has the HDMI port. I can connect directly to my monitor. It also has the Thunderbolt port, which uses the same port as the mini display. I can also connect that directly to my monitor. But with the 2017 model, with all the USB Type-C, I would need to get an adapter for that. So that's why I prefer older ports. As for the resolution, let's take a look at the MacBook Pro. So the resolution on the MacBook Pro is 2880 by 1880. This is a high-res screen. Everything looks sharp and the brightness is quite good. Although the newer models from 2017, they are even brighter. On the Surface Book 2, the resolution is even higher compared to the MacBook Pro. This is 3240 by 2160. And this screen, this is brighter compared to the old MacBook Pro. And I believe this brightness should be similar to the 2017 models. Now, this is supposed to have higher resolution, but in real life, it's very difficult for me to see the difference between these two models in terms of resolution because both screens, they have really high resolution. Let me show you some photos in Adobe Lightroom. So we have a photo open up. Let me zoom in to 100%. And on the Surface Book 2, I'm going to zoom in to 100% as well. So at 100%, I'm able to see a bit more of the photo on the Surface Book 2 compared to the MacBook Pro. But the difference is very small. So I can see a bit more here, a bit more here. So that's about it. So both screens, high resolution, no problem at all. Since I'm running Adobe Lightroom on both systems right now, I'm going to export some photos to let you see how much time it takes. So I'm going to select all the photos. I have 100 raw photos imported. Let me open up the export settings. On here, it's alright. I'm going to export them at JPEG 70%. I'm going to use a stopwatch to record the time that they are going to take. So let me put the stopwatch here, go down to the export button and hit it, press start. And meanwhile, let's talk about the specs. Now, this is a 2015 MacBook Pro that I bought last year. I bought this model because of the ports. The 2017 models, they are obviously faster. This old model is running a quad-core 2.5 GHz, and on the Surface Book 2, this is running a quad-core 1.9 GHz. So the clock speed is significantly lower compared to the MacBook Pro. The new MacBook Pros are going to be even faster. So in terms of the pricing, the Surface Book 2 is sort of comparable. The high-end Surface Book 2 is sort of comparable to the high-end MacBook Pro, but the processing speed is lower. But the processing speed is not the main selling point of the Surface Book 2. As mentioned earlier, the main selling point is the ability to detach the screen. And processing speed is not everything. Let me just open up the activity monitor here to let you see how much CPU utilization it's using. And here I'm going to Control-Alt-Delete to open up the task manager to show you the same thing. Alright. With the MacBook Pro, I find that it can consistently hold CPU utilization at close to 90%. With the Surface Book 2, I find that it fluctuates quite significantly. So there are times when it can go down to 50% utilization, and the fluctuation affects the export time. Obviously, because it already has the low clock speed and there's fluctuation, the speed on this system is not that fast. You can definitely use this to work on photos, but when it comes to exporting, just be prepared to wait a bit longer. And the MacBook Pro, it is done. Let me just lap it. So it took 2 minutes and 14 seconds to render 100 raw files. Each raw file is about 70 megabyte. Each photo is a 16 megapixel photo. And here on the Surface Book 2, it is still going. Back to the processor. So on the 15-inch model, it uses the quad-core 1.9. On the 13.5-inch model, you can choose to equip it with a dual-core processor, which, if I remember correctly, is a dual-core 2.6. The quad-core Surface Book 2 renders photos about 2 times faster compared to the dual-core Surface Book 2. So if you need processing power, if you want to buy Surface Book 2, if you need the processing power, definitely get the quad-core version. It's still going, so utilization now it has dropped to 28 to 38, and sometimes it goes up to 70, 80, 90%. When the MacBook Pro was exporting the photos, I could hear the fans turn up pretty quickly, and it was quite loud. On the Surface Book 2, it's pretty silent. There are fans here, but it's pretty silent. In fact, as I touch the keyboard area here, it's actually pretty cool because the processing power is actually on the tablet itself. This is quite warm. All right, it has stopped. Let me just pause this. So this quad-core 2.5 took half the time compared to the Surface Book 2. Again, I need to emphasize that this is not a very fair comparison because the specifications, they are different. But this is the sort of performance you can expect. And now we are going to do some very basic graphic design editing. So here I am using Affinity Photo. I have opened up a very large file that is 900 megabyte in size. This particular document measures 120 by 60 centimeters at 300 dpi resolution. So this is a pretty large file. I am going to open up an adjustment layer to change the hue, which is the color of the green areas here. I am going to adjust this on the fly and see if the system can reflect the changes instantly. So pay attention to the colors as I move the sliders around. So the changes, they are almost instant, which is very good. Let me zoom in and out of this file and see if there is any problem. So the zooming, the navigation, this is very responsive on the MacBook Pro. And let's do that to the same file on the Surface Book 2. I want to show you this because on some systems, when it comes to zooming in and out, when it comes to panning, the software, the system, it will start to lag, especially when the file is too big. So on the Surface Book 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to change the hue. I'm going to adjust the hue on the fly and let you see whether or not there is any lag. The changes are almost instantaneous, but I can see the screen redraw in sort of a rectangular block. It's not a big deal. The most important thing is when I drag the slider, I must be able to see the colors change, and it does so. So no problem at all. Let's zoom in and out and pan around. No problems at all. So for graphic design purposes, both systems more than are powerful enough for basic 2D graphic design. And now let's do some video exporting. I'm going to use Adobe Premiere here. That's the export settings. I'm going to choose H.264 format. I'm going to choose a preset match source, high bit rate. And this is going to export a 4K resolution file at 25 frames per second, which is the same as my source. I'm going to use a stopwatch here as well, and let's hit start. Alright, so earlier on we looked at how much time it took to export 100 raw photos. With photo editing, this is an even more processor intensive task, so the faster your processor, the more time you can save. I have already exported the same file on the Mac. I have used Adobe Premiere on the Mac. I have used Final Cut Pro on the Mac. So later on, I'm going to show you the timings that I have achieved on the MacBook Pro. But now let's focus on the Surface Book 2. Now for this particular file, this video file that I'm exporting, it is actually just a series of short clips that I joined together. There is no special effects, no layers whatsoever. It's just some short clips joined together to form a 5-minute long video clip. So that's the clip that I am exporting right now. And while it's exporting, let's take a look at the battery life. So we have 59%. By the way, the battery life on the Surface Book 2, it's split between the tablet and the keyboard. So they will show you the two battery life separately. For battery 1, that's the tablet, it's at 67%. On battery 2, it's 55%. If you were to detach the tablet, the battery life on the tablet, it would be about 5 hours thereabouts. This tablet is surprisingly light, so I'm not sure how much battery it is packing into the tablet. But for a tablet this size, 15-inch, for it to last 5 hours, that's pretty good. But of course, the battery life will depend a lot on the task that you are doing. If you are editing photos, exporting photos, videos, then obviously the battery life is going to drain quite quickly. So we'll take note of the battery life on the Surface Book 2 while it exports this video. The battery life for the whole Surface Book system, the tablet and the keyboard included, is about 10 hours for general usage. But if you are using it with processor intensive tasks like Adobe Lightroom for editing photos, when you are editing videos, exporting videos, obviously that is going to drain the battery life quite fast. And when you are exporting videos, it's best to just connect the laptop into the power outlet. On the MacBook Pro, the battery life for that is also about 9 to 10 hours for general usage. When it comes to editing and exporting videos, again, battery life will drain very quickly. It's about, on the MacBook Pro, it drains about 1% every minute. So for 100% battery life, that would be about 100 minutes, which is not very long, but that is to be expected when you are exporting videos. Meanwhile, let's talk about other things. The keyboard, the keyboard on the Surface Book 2 is excellent. They have very good travel. It feels really nice to type on the keyboard. The keyboard on the MacBook Pro 2015 is also fantastic. But because I put this silicone cover over the buttons, it doesn't feel as nice, but it prevents dust from getting inside. And not just that, I can see the keyboard shortcuts, so this really helps me save some time. The typing experience of these keys on the 2015 model is much better compared to the 2016 and 17 MacBook Pros. In fact, Apple has just announced that they are going to offer free repairs for faulty keyboards because a lot of customers are complaining about the keyboards being unusable. Some keys, they just stop working after a few months, and that is really bad. There are so many complaints that Apple has to announce the free repair for them. Even out of warranty MacBook Pros are covered in that announcement. So now this processor on the Surface Book 2, the Intel Core i7-8650U, the base clock speed is 1.9, but the Turbo Boost clock speed is actually 4.2. But as you can see right now, it doesn't go anywhere near the 4.2. It's just hovering at 2.1 thereabouts. Now I can get utilization of the CPU at over 90% consistently. You can see this curve here. It is consistently right at the top there. There is no fluctuation. All right, we are almost done. So let's hit the pause when this disappears. Let me write down the video export timings for you on the screen. So I'm going to detach the screen. Oh, by the way, when you are using certain apps, some of the apps may prevent you from detaching the screen. For example, right now, Adobe Premiere, this is preventing me from detaching. So I have to close Premiere and this thing here. All right, we have the MacBook Pro here and the Surface Book 2 here. So for Adobe Premiere Pro, it took 20 minutes and 47 seconds to render that 5-minute clip. On the Surface Book 2, it took 13 minutes and 19 seconds to do the same. So even though the clock speed on the Surface Book 2 is lower, I think the software it's more optimized on Windows for some reason. I'm not sure why, even though I'm using Premiere Pro CC as well on both systems. So I'm not sure why there's this big discrepancy. Now with Final Cut Pro, it took 2 minutes 32 seconds. So this is significantly faster. Final Cut Pro, the app, this is significantly faster compared to Adobe Premiere on either systems. And this really is the main selling point of the MacBook Pro. The main reason why people buy MacBook Pros for video editing. The reason for this amazing result is because with the Intel processor on the MacBook Pro, they have this technology called QuickSync that is built into the processor. So it really helps to speed up time when it comes to exporting videos. But QuickSync, it doesn't work with Adobe Premiere. So when it comes to editing videos on the MacBook Pro with Premiere, it's not good at all. By the way, while exporting the video on the Surface Book 2, the battery life dropped around 1% or more per minute. So the power usage is pretty similar to the MacBook Pro. So which one is the better product? Which one is the better product? Which one is more worth the money? Well, it really depends on the type of work that you do, the apps that you use, and of course your workflow. As mentioned earlier in the video, the main selling point of the Surface Book 2 is the screen, is the detachable screen that allows you to use it as a tablet so that you can write and draw on it directly. So if you are an illustrator who needs to spend long periods of time drawing, the Surface Book 2 clearly is the better choice. You can get the MacBook Pro as well, but you cannot draw on the screen, so you need to connect something like a tablet in order to draw directly into the system. But on the Surface Book 2, you are now just drawing onto the screen straight into the system, so it saves a lot of time. You don't have to bring an additional tablet around. For other things like photo editing, well, for photo editing and video editing, I think the MacBook Pro, it does the job better in the sense that you can save more time with the MacBook Pro simply because it has higher clock speed, and this is an old model. With the newer models, well, they are more expensive, but they have higher clock speed, better processors. You are going to save even more time. But even with the old model, this is still faster compared to the new Surface Book 2. So for just photo editing, for video editing, I would more likely go with the MacBook Pro. But if I'm an illustrator, if I need to draw a lot, if I'm a comic artist, graphic designer, it's more likely for me to go with the Surface Book 2. One thing that surprises me when comparing the two is for the Surface Book 2, when using Adobe Premiere, it actually took less time to export the video compared to Adobe Premiere on the Mac. So that was quite surprising for me, even with the lower clock speed of the processor. So if you want to do some video editing, 4K video editing, you can certainly do so on the Surface Book 2. Although if you are just doing video editing and nothing else, no graphic design, you just edit videos, let's just say that for the same amount of money, you can spend it elsewhere and get even more powerful systems to edit videos. The main selling point comes down to the detachable screen, so always remember that. Alright, so that's all for my comparison review today. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below. If you are using these systems for drawing, graphic design, photo and video editing, I would love to hear your experience. Let me know in the comment section. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.